Monday morning, start of a new week. Just want to say hello to everybody. Give me a few minutes to go on my little overview like you guys always do on these live streams. Do me one favor as you're checking in, just hit the thumbs up. Let me know how your weekend went. If you haven't already joined our Johnny Says Boxing Insider VIP group, that link is pinned in the comment section below. It's a couple bucks a month. You get access to the Discord. Wow, we had an up and down. It turned out to be an amazing weekend, but let's get into it. First, I do want to say a somber rest in peace to a boxing legend, man. When we were watching the Inoue fight last night in our Discord, we got news that Ricky Hatton passed away. 46 years old. I mean, I'm 43. I'll be 44 this year. 46 years old isn't old, you know what I mean? No man, no human is ready to go at 46. So I'm not one to speculate. The only news I've read is that he was found unresponsive in his home. He was at the Paddy Donovan fight. So people are speculating. We'll see what happens. Great career. Was in there with his generation's best. It was just a bummer because the Japanese card was really, really exciting. And then we get news that Ricky Hatton was found unresponsive and he passed away, man. It just, dude, that stuff bums me out. I think it bums me. I never met him. I had no connection. You know, boxing is our connection, all of us. It's just like I think a lot of us fail to remember that about our own mortality. You know what I'm saying? Because life is like, you know, if you're caught up, if you have family, you know, life, it just flies. So I think it's tough for some people to sit back and remind ourselves we're not permanent. Nobody gets to stay forever. And it's always kind of a shock when Ricky Hatton, man, he was training for a comeback fight. But anyway, rest in peace to Ricky, man. True legend. And rest in peace to any of you those out there who have any loved ones recently who passed away, man. I talked to my mom yesterday on the phone for about an hour. Every time I get off the phone with my mom, I tell myself, I need to talk to my mom more. You know, this tattoo is for my mom. Her name's Rose. She's the strongest woman in my life. She made so many sacrifices when I was a kid to get me to where I am, man. So, yeah. Moving forward, guys. Terrence Crawford. Oh, my God. Terrence Crawford. What do you say? You know, talk about, you know, from my perspective, it bummed me out that I bet against him. I was happy for him. I told you guys all week. It bummed me out that I bet against him. I got that one wrong. Terrence Crawford, oh my God, he boxed beautifully, masterfully. And, you know, hats off to Canelo. I felt like Terrence Crawford actually brought that competitive. I'd never seen Canelo frustrated like that before. The first, we'll say 3 or 4 rounds, I was messaging in the Discord and I was like, Jesus, man, we are watching 2 boxing experts in here. Like, it was a joy to watch, especially watching how it was unfolding. And the first few rounds, they're figuring each other out. And then I think it was somewhere around the 4th or 5th where you started to see Bud's class just pull away and Bud's sort of speed pull away. And then around the 5th or 6th round, you started seeing Bud's confidence gain in terms of like feeling like Canelo couldn't hurt him. And then, geez, everything that I saw in Crawford last night, I already knew. It's just that I kind of got blinded by the size thing. And I could sit here and say, you know, the first thing I thought to myself when Bud won, the first thing I told myself was like, how dare you? Because I was always the smaller guy growing up in sports, playing football, baseball, basketball, and boxing. I didn't grow into my, like, you know, physical size. You know, when I was 14, I was 5 feet tall. When I was 16, I was probably 5'3". And then when I was 18, I was 5'11". So my point is, I was always the small athlete who had to rely on skill, speed to overcome the size difference. And man, for me to kind of forget about that and think that the size, I just think with Bud, man, he's one of one. He is one of one, man. World titles at 35, 40, 47, 54, and 68. 5 division world champion. 3 division undisputed world champion. First guy ever. 40, 47, and 68. Jesus, man. Crawford, joy to watch. Canelo too, man. I thought watching Canelo get beat like that was actually good for him in terms of, how do I mean this without sounding, I'm not trying to sound ignorant here. I feel sometimes certain fighters need to show fans their flaws for people to really understand who they are. And I think some people were kind of questioning who Canelo really was, his like spirit of a person. Canelo's a dog, dude. Canelo's a dog. And I felt like Bud, for Bud to bring that out of him and then Canelo to be frustrated and then the mutual respect afterwards, it was awesome. It was awesome. We could talk about the promotion. We could talk about the weird awkwardness between Dana and Turkey. We could talk about the lack of nationalism or patriotism. No national anthem. These are all just politics stuff. And then Brandon Adams, I got that wrong. I definitely got that. Hats off to Brandon Adams. Hats off to the Cannon. He fought really well. Brandon Adams, man, got that energy to him. Boacek is exactly who I thought he was. I should have stuck to my guns again. Guys, moving forward, what I'm going to do in the Discord is it doesn't happen every week. It doesn't happen every card. But every now and then there's these cards where my instinct is always right, and then I flip-flop. And so what I'm going to do moving forward, when my instinct is right and I flip-flop, I'm going to do an instinct parlay. So as soon as the fights drop, I'm going to do a parlay, put it active, and post it. And then if I flip-flop, I'll have that as evidence because, there's a few over the last few months that are burning. Me flip-flopping on Fundora, me flip-flopping on Bud, and then me flip-flopping on Adams. So those are 3 big ones. And everything I thought Boacek was, he was, and I still took him. So, and then, to think that Boacek and Adams wasn't on the main card, that was just a slap in the face. To see the co-main, and I don't want to talk too much about the co-main, for Fernando Vargas Jr. and Callum Walsh, younger fighters, but not that young. Nepotism at its best. You could call Dana White, or you could call Callum Walsh Dana White's son. We know Fernando's dad is boxing royalty. They shouldn't have been the co-main. I thought it was a slap in the face. And then you got a war, Lester Martinez and Mbili. And I think Martinez and Mbili were exactly who we thought they were. I picked Mbili. I did not expect Lester to be that big of a dog. I'm not mad at the draw. I did have Mbili up. I had Mbili up, and I thought I scored it fairly. I'd have to rewatch it, but moving forward, Mbili didn't show me anything that I didn't know. I was telling the boys in the Discord, this is exactly who Mbili is. Like, all gas, no brakes. He fights so honorable. You could call him one-dimensional. When you watch a guy like Mbili who fights like that, it is so disrespectful, I feel, in this modern era to say the word one-dimensional unless you use it as an asterisk to use one-dimensional as a compliment. But you guys know the pundits don't call him one-dimensional as a compliment. They kind of use it as a shade. But I learned more about Lester. I knew Lester had power. I just didn't know he had that much. Man, Lester was turning it on late. Man, he showed me a lot. Both guys were durable. That was such an honorable fight. Both men. I'm watching it like, oh, God, these guys are going to be sore as hell. Let's see. Tsutsumi looked great. Short, first-round stoppage. But I took a huge hit on Canelo. I took a huge risk. I think I got too fancy, and then I missed. And that's fine. Japan, though, guys, because I want to talk about Japan. Let me get Donovan and, what happened in the UK. I felt like that was a robbery. I felt like Lewis, he knocked him down twice early, but then I didn't give him any rounds. And that kind of ruined my long parlay. So my long parlay got ruined with Donovan. Patty, he outboxed him. He was the better boxer. He just got dropped twice. but he was doing everything he wanted, control the center. Look at the stats. That was a crazy decision. I'm not going to call it a robbery. Lewis Crockett is the new 147-pound champion, which is crazy. And Lewis, and there are things to like about Lewis. You gotta like the adjustments he made. But to say that he beat Donovan, I disagree. And I don't want to harp on that too much. So long parlay got dusted by the Donovan decision. I thought I was gonna have to start stripping again because I put the house on Canelo, and he lost. But then I was redeemed. In Japan, and historically, boys, we don't speak about it enough. I do my best work in Japan and Australia. I don't talk about it, but I was looking at the last 5 Japanese cards made. Going all the way back to the January card. But anyway, so we had Inoue last night in Japan. He won a decision against MJ. I won all my money on Medina, and I told you guys all week, I brought it up with TJ on the live stream before the card, and I said that and I gave you guys 2 upset of the weeks. It's the first week that I hit both of them. I gave you guys Raiko Santana to beat Nelson. I felt like 375. I was like, Raiko beat Lester. I was like, I had Raiko beating Lester. How the hell is he a 375 dog against Nelson? Was that fight stopped a little bit early? Yeah. Was I mad about it? Hell no. We ate. So if you listen to me, you ate on that one. And when I give you upset of the weeks, don't parlay them. Just go heavy on them. So that's I'm going to talk about the adjustments I'm going to make as well with betting and kind of based on the feedback you guys give me in the Discord and all the DMs and the emails you guys all who are contacting me is single props. Don't put them in a parlay. And for now, guys, the long parlays, we're missing 1 and missing 2. We're getting draws, some bad decisions. I'm going to still do the long parlay, but don't put too much emphasis in them. Don't go heavy on them. 10, 25 bucks, 50 bucks, nothing too crazy. If you're looking at the value of a bet, it's the prop. It's, the 1 money line like I did. And, mate, so I gave you Raiko, and then I gave you Medina. Medina fought Takai, and this is the most important bit because the one thing we're doing on the channel is we're picking up patterns, right? Last week I said Medina at plus 535. What are we talking about, dude? Medina had 29, close to 30 fights. Takai had 10 or 11 fights, and I said, there's no way. I was like, this is a world title fight. Medina's a Mexican fighter going to Japan. That in itself, we know what he's going to do. Pressure forward. He's going to want to drown the Japanese fighter. These Mexican fighters don't come to Japan and respect these guys at all. And if you do your research, you'll see the Japanese fighters go to Japan to train. So with that being said, I got him at plus 535. You had Medina with, I think, close to 30 pro fights. You had Takai with like 10 or 11. We've seen this before. Frankie Rodriguez, 30-plus fights. Galal Yafai, 10 fights. Yafai was the huge favorite, and Frankie Rod was traveling. He came over and won. In Turkey, Elber Badagaziev, 10 pro fights. He was fighting a close to 35-fight veteran in Jazza Dickens. Jazza was a plus 600. What happened? Jazza won. A month ago in France, Soufihan, 9 pro fights? Fights a guy with 25, 30 pro fights. Every time that veteran is a huge dog, he's been winning. That was why I took Medina. And one of the boys on the Discord private messaged me. His name is Lad. So Lad, if you're on the live stream, hopefully you listen to me. His name in our Discord is Lad. He's learning how to bet, and he's up, right? So last night he was up, and he was like, Johnny, should I cash this parlay out? And he sends me the parlay, and I think he put 25 bucks to win like 580, right? It was a nice parlay. The only fight that hadn't taken place was Takai versus Medina. And if he cashed out, he would have cashed out at, I think, 390 bucks. So I told him, I was like, bro, cash out. I was like, because look, at the end of the day, even if Takai wins, I would rather leave 130 bucks on the table than lose the whole ticket based on Takai not performing. So, because I told him I took Medina, and I don't know, he didn't respond to me. Hopefully he cashed out. Hopefully he left with some money. But I went 100%. I picked my money line hit in Japan. I hit a plus 700 in Japan. I hit a plus 530 in Japan. And then my biggest hit in Vegas was Ryko at a plus 350. But anyway, I'm checking in, boys. I just had to get a hold of you. I had to tell everybody we got a super chat. My boy DJ Grizzle. DJ Grizzle in the house. DJ Green, I appreciate you, brother, with the super chats. Those are, those, I wasn't 100%, I was wrong. And I think the one, I got to be honest with you guys. Like a month ago when I would lose, it still sucks. I hate losing, but I'm more aware of what we're doing now here. We're building a community. Like a month ago, it would just affect me so much because I thought I was only looking at what we're doing on the channel as me trying to be right 100% of the time. But now watching the Discord and watching how all the boys are interacting, we're up to like 200. I think there's 220 boys in the Discord, and seeing the interaction and all the people sharing their bets and the positive ecosystem there, that's what we're doing. And so I appreciate everybody supporting the channel. I appreciate everybody in the Discord. I appreciate how healthy it is. Shout out to one of the, living in Australia, guys, Top Rank didn't play the Inoue fight. They said they played it on their Facebook page, but in Australia, we couldn't get it. And this is an example of why the Discord's awesome. One of the boys in the Discord, I posted, I go, hey, anybody in Australia with a link? And then one of the guys in the Discord in America just live streamed it. So now we have we're like 40 dudes in our Discord live streaming it because he shared his screen. I didn't even know that was possible. So yeah, join the Discord. It's a good community. It took me about 17 minutes to get all that out. I'm going to leave it open to you. I'm going to start answering your questions. I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer this morning because we got a lot to talk about. There's fights in another 48 hours. I am a little bit burned out. Man, I did a lot of work last week, and that's something I never talk about. I never talk about all the effort I put into this, but just to give you an example, when you watch those Stats Don't Lie videos, the ones that are edited on my fight prediction breakdown, like last week I did 3 of them. I did the Bud versus Canelo, I did the Brandon Adams Boacek, and then the Lester Mabili. Each one of those videos, they're only 10 to 12, 15 minutes with films, with tape study, editing, writing. Each one of those videos takes me probably like 4 hours. And so you mix all that with all the fight cards last week, and then it's football season. Mate, I'm a bit burned out, but I slept good last night. We're here, brother. All right, we're going to talk. I'm going to say what's up to the boys, all the boys in the house, Dwayne in the house, Mar the Prince. Yeah, Ricardo Sandoval, Cigar in the house. Lester super made me proud. Guys, if I didn't get to any of your responses, I apologize. I'm going to talk now. We got King Ty in the house, new JSB Boxing Insider. I appreciate you, King Ty. I just joined the Insider group. All right, King Ty, here's what you do. You go to the YouTube, my channel main interface. So now you have more access. You'll see a new section on my YouTube channel that says members. Go into the members section and you'll see the Discord link. So yeah, and there's a few of the boys on our chat that need to resubscribe, by the way. But I'm not to put anybody on blast. DJ Green, I had a parlay plus 3,400, was off by 1 because of the judges. Red in the house, how much better would Crawford Janabek, right, dude? Red, I'd love to see Alam Hanalei versus Crawford. I just don't know, Red. I don't know if Bud wants to do that. It doesn't seem like he wants to do that. Did anybody hear the news that Bud is going to fight Topuria? This isn't even me speculating, and I'm not saying, hey, what would happen? I got messaged twice. One of the dudes who messaged me last night is, so connected to Bud that he was with Bud's father in Vegas yesterday. So, I mean, he's basically saying that there is like a good possibility Crawford is going to box Ilia Topuria. Did any of you guys hear this? DJ Green, Lester made me proud as hell. I had him winning before the fight, but I think he gets the rematch. Yeah, I'll watch the rematch. Something I want to ask you guys with Lester and Mbili is, what adjustments are to be made? For Lester, there's a few adjustments, and I got to be honest, if they had a rematch, I would probably take Lester in the rematch, because what we started seeing was Martinez was figuring out he needs to fight Mbili at range. You know, like he was getting he was having much more success at the end of his punches. And it's just that by the time he figured that out, I think it was probably the 7th or 8th round in a 10-round fight, you kind of have to make that sort of decision early on, because if he's catching Mbili in the 2nd or 3rd round, the way he was catching him in the 7th and 8th round at the end of his punches, I think obviously, I mean, I think Mbili could have probably been in trouble. Now, on Mbili's side, what adjustments does he make? There aren't any. There aren't any. This is what you get with Mbili. Okay, West Goat, I have a somewhat hot take. I think the Crocker-Patty rematch was the biggest robbery in recent times. Bro, West Goat, I agree, man. I was shocked. I was shocked Patty got robbed, but as I was watching it unfold, and they were about to read it, I was like, they're gonna give it to Crocker, man. They're gonna give it to him. I don't know what those judges were seeing. I just knew Bud was all wrong. Yeah, dude, you guys were... I knew Bud was all wrong for Canelo. It's just that I don't even know the proper words to say. I'm not a Canelo fan. You guys have heard this all month. I'm a Crawford fan. I thought I was doing my due diligence. I thought I was doing a proper non-opinionative choice by taking Canelo based off of what I thought I knew about boxing. I didn't have any other examples to pull from of a 35-year-old man, of a 38-year-old man going up 3 divisions and winning. I didn't have any against when you put the legacies like that. Like I just didn't think he was going to be able to do it. Bud looked quick. Bud's reflexes look mate. I could just talk. I could gloss, gas. What do you guys call it? Glaze Bud all day. The dude, Jesus, he fought exceptionally. He didn't lose any. Like going up to 68. Did you guys watch the trilogy of Amanda versus Katie Taylor? The only reason why I use this as an example is after Amanda versus Katie Taylor, the last fight, I talked about the adjustments Amanda had made in her tactics. And if you watched it, the third one, she was way more cautious. She had changed her style so much. She had changed that aggression style so much that she kind of lost a bit of who she is against Katie. You know, who Amanda is this brawler sort of type who puts herself in the firefight and makes for these exciting just punch-ups, right? With her making that adjustment, being more cautious, I felt like she lost a bit of herself, of her identity. I thought that was going to happen with Crawford. But in contrast, he looked better against Canelo at 68 than he looked against Madrimov at 54. He didn't lose anything. He actually, with the weights and his footwork and his speed and him using the ring like that and then coming in and out, Jesus, man. What could you say about that guy? There's so many there's so many things. Now we really have to start thinking crazy with Bud in a good way. You know, because 2 years ago when he beat Errol and he went on Joe Rogan's podcast and said he wanted to fight Canelo at 68 and he told Joe he could do it, that was the craziest take at the time. We're like, this motherfucker crazy. This fool, he must be on that, smoking that weed, you know, cue crucial conflict, smoking on hay. But that was the craziest take, and we just watched Bud do it. So now, even though he's 38, it's kind of like we could start even thinking crazier. Like that version of Bud at 68, he's the undisputed champion at 68. You know what I mean? Like, does he do a crossover match against Ilya? I don't want him to do that. If they give him $100 million, go do that, Bud. But I don't think Ilya is a draw internationally. I know he's big in Spain. He's not really marketable. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing Bud's going to do that I'm going to disagree with. But in terms of, like, boxing, why not go to 60 and take Lara's belt? Why not become a 6th division world champion and really separate yourself from the conversation of era greats? Bud could easily go down to 60 and fight Lara. So it's going to be interesting. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to take some of your questions. The boys are tapping in, man. Yo, Johnny, high interest, my guy. What's up, man? Johnny says, why seeing Usyk with these big men? I told everybody. No, Mr. Flash, you're spot on, boys. And if you look at the comment section on my stats don't lie prediction when I took Canelo, I'm getting cooked. Look, I could get cooked, dude. I'm fine with it. You guys know, the boys who know me know that I'm kind of built for this in terms of taking. You guys could cook me, and I got thick skin. I'm an old head, you know. I grew up in the era of we used to have roast sessions. We're 9 years old, just roasting each other. You know, one of my childhood good friends, you know, I've been friends with him since I was 8 years old, is a famous roast comic. Like, and he used to get she was terrible. We used to shit on him. He would get shit on so bad he wouldn't even be able to clown with us because every time he spoke he would just get smashed. But anyway, I could take the heat. And I'm happy when I'm wrong. Beautiful catch encounters. Man, Bud was just exceptional. Smoke weed. So Luis, Carlo, Trigiano, I'm down bad. Take some time off, Luis. A couple of the boys messaged me on Instagram, said they had a bad month. They were down in terms of their betting. Bro, take it, dude. You don't have to bet. This channel, I started this not as a betting channel. It's just this is the direction. You don't have to gamble, guys. If you're not having fun, don't freaking gamble. Don't have to bet. I'm not telling you guys you have to bet. Smoke weed every day. David, I don't want to see a Lester rematch. That was a brutal fight. They're both so evenly matched. They have similar styles. I agree, David. JP Farley, let's just say I'll be eating steak dinners for a while thanks to Bud. Nice, JP. Westgoat. Crawford deserves to do the Ilya fight. It's free money. I think it's free. DJ, he can probably get a title at 60, then peace out. He's been skimped out of Mega Millions since the Spence fight. Furman Garrick. Yeah, how much did I lose? I kind of broke even with Japan. I agree, go to 160, become 4-time undisputed. Well, for him to become 4-time, JP, he has to take a couple more fights. Because those belts are kind of, you know, separated. I know Adames has a belt, Alam Hanalei has a belt, and then Lara has a belt. I mean, just for the sake, you'd have to think what Lara's brand name for the time he spent and his longevity, and in terms of, I think, style, I would fight Lara. If I was Bud, I wouldn't get in there with Alam Hanalei. I'm not saying Janibek would beat him. It's just that I don't know if I don't think we'll see that fight. I would watch Bud versus Lara at 160 though. I got to be honest with you. You picked Raiko Santana. That was a good win. Yeah, JP, I got that, and that's what I'm saying. So PJ says I hit my first 15 parlay. Jesus, 15 parlays is insane. Kiza beat Croc with the cocaine power, cooked the parlay. But mate, he didn't win any rounds. He won those 2 rounds. Gamble with what you can afford. Yeah, guys, like I said, even if you have all the money in the world and you're not having fun, don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Mental health is a serious thing. Yeah, I know some guys who took heavy hits yesterday, man. It's there's no guarantees in anything, let alone boxing, gambling. Red Janibek. Janibek's not undisputed. He has 1 belt. Unified meaning he's a full champion in one of the sanctioning bodies, but at 160, you have Lara, Alam Hanalei, and Adames. Not sure Crawford beats Janibek at 160. I think Janibek would outbox Crawford. I mean, after I just watched Bud do that, there's no way I'm going to sit here and say anybody in the world outboxes Bud. I just can't do that. Julius, Canelo can no longer throw combos. Yeah, Julius, it seemed like, yeah, that's what it seemed like. We didn't see that. There were moments in the exchanges where Canelo was caught, kind of surprised he was getting caught, which you never like to see. And how durable is Canelo, mate? Bud was catching him clean late, not with just one and dones, with combos. Bud is so mean in there, mate. How? Jesus. Even though I was watching, I thought I was going to have to start stripping again because I lost all my money. I kind of still had a smile on my face because just watching Bud do what he does, I'm just sitting there like, Jesus. And it like, what are you going to say now? What could you say now? Bud should fight Chris Eubank Jr. or Shiraz for the global appeal. Would be. I heard that win, lose, or draw, Canelo was going to fight Shiraz. I think what they want to do is what Canelo's probably going to be used for is that brand name now to get Shiraz. It's kind of like, you know, we've seen this in the passing of the torch sort of thing. It seems to me Canelo's probably going to, you know, hand his whole brand sort of, because Bud already had the brand, but Shiraz needs that big brand to get him to the next level. And then Turkey feels he's that guy for the next decade to be, you know, selling out stadiums all throughout the world. So I think the Shiraz-Canelo fight makes way more sense in terms of what Turkey has said and what it kind of looks like that he's going to be doing. Boxing fan, with our channel, we're still winning. This is how we learn and doing it together. Win, lose, or draw. Boxing fan, man, you know, I can't agree with you more, brother. That positivity you bring trickles down to everyone. Crocker didn't win any round. I know he didn't. Crocker won 2 rounds, mate. Go watch that fight, boys. Crocker he landed the one knockdown was a good knockdown. But all he would land was that the way Crocker would throw his left hook, dude. It's not like technically gorgeous. Crocker, he's fighting Donovan, who's a southpaw who's technical. Donovan's kind of like pressing the action. And then Crocker surprised Donovan early in countering him. And so the way Crocker would throw that hook, he would throw that one from the orthodox with his back against the ropes when you slip down and you throw it over like that. So he's not, you know, Crocker's not throwing like a technical in the pocket hook like here. He's doing the one where he's here, that one. It's like that chopping one. And that's the one he caught. He kept catching Donovan. But those are the only punches he caught him with. I'm just reading your comments. I'm trying to catch up. Did you hear about... Yeah, I started the video. Rest in peace to Rick. I say Bud versus Fendora, take all of his belts. Kiza says, I got to be biased, I guess. But I didn't even think the Crocker decision was that bad. There was a few close... I'm probably just biased, too. Latina Lucia Caminos Lopez. She says, the Molly woman won the fight, Johnny. So proud. Yeah, I told you guys Molly McCann. Take Molly McCann. She was a UFC fighter. She's from Liverpool. She was a fighter. She was a boxer, though. She was trying to make the Olympics for the UK as a boxer. They didn't have her division in the Olympics, so she started doing MMA, and then she had a good career in the UFC. But she just started her boxing career, and I said she got hands. Bud gonna fight Canelo in their rematch for $100 million. Let's do it. Crawford retiring. What I've learned is to ignore past accolades and focus on it now. Wise advice, Julius. Julius, we need to get your tick back, brother. We need to get that membership popping again. Bud gave Canelo a boxing glove facial. Bud, dude, God damn, Bud's is so good, man. You know what Bud's doing? Crawford, right in front of our eyes, is rewriting how a career is supposed to be done. Because the whole inactivity, that's dispelled. You know why? Because what he's proven in his inactivity, especially in his mid-30s, is like, hey, bro, if you got injuries, and I'm not saying he does, but what I've seen is a guy who's used his inactivity to heal up, to get stronger, and to level up in his mid-30s, when most fighters historically in their mid-30s are either retiring or degrading based off of being too active. You know, it was never a thing. It's never been a positive thing to be inactive. But what Bud is showing us, he's rewriting the script for fighters in the 30s that being inactive can be a positive attribute for a prolonged career. If you're doing things like he does, recovery, saunas, massages, eating right, gaining weight, adding muscle. I talked about his strength and conditioning coach. I talked about his strength programming. And what we're seeing is a guy who obviously now with evidence, those inactive years were years that he's able to rest, recover, rebuild, get stronger, and then perform again, rather than fighting for paychecks, having to be active. I don't want to get ring rust. Okay, so get hit 300 times again when you're 34, 35, and then, shorten your career and then just become a doormat. Or you could do one fight a year, and within that whole year, you could treat that year like a business. And this is how he's done it. And that's hopefully I'm going to talk about it. I'm talking about it right now. Hopefully some of these bigger YouTube content creators bring that up, because for a man, and for, as you men who follow this channel, who want to, outside of boxing, level your lives up and want to be healthy, the older you get, having a plan of attack with healthy habits and strategies and structures put in place, it matters. And this is what I'm seeing from Crawford as well. Made Canelo fight and throw punches early. Brother, don't. I was kidding. Alvarez has always had bad footwork. Let's talk about footwork in a second. Did any of you guys watch Inoue? Bro, yeah, we called that. We called Walsh. But Walsh versus Vargas, yeah, that shouldn't have been the co-main. Daniel Vega says, I was so mad at Crocker's decision. I hope he fights Haney versus Norman winner. He will be food for those guys. Yeah, I think he's a full champion, guys. You know what would be fun? Crocker versus Raleigh. I think Crocker versus Raleigh's a world champion. I think Adams beats Virgil and Lubin. You think Brandon Adams beats Virgil and Lubin if it happened? I mean, he's a dog, man. Yeah, I got eyes on Perro's next fight. Guys, we got fights in a few days. We'll get to those. I'm going to go live I'm going to do another live today. So, guys, I'm going to do another live today. We'll talk about the fights coming up. I want to keep it focused on what we just saw, both in Japan and in Vegas. Fresh BX says, I'm glad I ain't bet on that fight yesterday. My biggest regret was Adams. He was in my head the whole time, but I never got around to watching the tape. Yeah, I mean, TJ from Chilltown told you guys about Adams. Even in my breakdown, man, like I told you, if you're just jumping on this live now and you're catching this now, I said earlier in the stream that I'm going to start doing an instinct parlay, like when I first pick who I think is going to win, just so I have it on paper, because I've been flip-flopping. I've been over. Something that happens, guys, is when you watch as much tape as I do and we talk about the fights as much as I do with you boys, sometimes I overthink things. I saw in Adams exactly what I thought we were going to see. A guy at 35 who had been more active. 2024, he fought 3 times, really tough opponents. He was fighting a guy in Boacek who turned out to be exactly who I thought he was going to be. I said Boacek at 30 is, he's done. He looks like a noodle. He looks like he's fried. His central nervous system, based off of what I saw in interviews and his training and what he looked like against Michael Fox. But like the hopeless romantic in me was like, don't throw him away. He's only 30. He's the guy who fought Virgil. He just had an off night against Fox. We're going to see that guy again. And so I bet on Boacek and I got burned. And I did the same thing with Bud. That's the one that I'm not going to forget about, because Bud, he's one of my favorite fighters. And look, but the cool thing about my space here is that we got receipts. So all you'd have to do is go everything I'm saying, you at least know my intention. It's not like I was sitting here saying, Canelo's going to beat the shit out of Bud. Bud's terrible. Bud don't know how to box. Bud's resume is shit. He ain't never been in. No, I was saying Bud's amazing. Bud, I'm cheering for Bud. I just don't think he's going to be able to overcome the size. And I totally disregarded size doesn't always win fights, man. Obviously. David says he's not active in terms of fighting, but he definitely active training in the gym. JP Farley, loads of underdogs won this weekend. DJ Green, damn, you had a chance to bet blood at DJ. You know what I was worried about, DJ? I kind of carried over a little bit of trauma from the years of my channel being called a Bud fanboy channel, and this is true, guys. About a year, or like especially after the Errol Spence Jr. fight, I was getting so many people saying I was a Bud fanboy, and so I'm not saying that's why I picked Canelo, but I think there's like a percentage of my reasoning kind of being a contrarian. I'll show you, punk ass, like that sort of thing. I'm not, but yeah, that one's gonna stick with me for a while. Keys and Medina knockout, Inoue points, been calling them. Yeah, what'd you guys think of Inoue? With Inoue last night, he fought MJ. We saw a very different Inoue. We saw a guy who was way less reckless. We saw a guy who his feints last night were on point. The psychology he was using against MJ, he won every round. He wasn't going to. I love the adjustment he made from the Cardenas fight to the MJ fight. MJ much more, I feel, dangerous fighter than Cardenas in terms of the all-around skill set. I don't think that's shocking, but it seemed to me Inoue was reading the comments of him getting dropped against Neri, getting dropped against Cardenas, and we saw a very controlled, precise game plan. He didn't throw him like he beat him every second of every round, if you ask me. Albert says, I may cause some trouble with this, but Floyd is 48 years old. I would put a big bet on him to beat Crawford. That would cause some trouble. Yeah, you think he's that elite at 48? Heaven sent. Johnny, I had Dichko and Boacek losing also. Before I knew about Dichko, someone with a mouthpiece made it seem like he was the next Tyson Fury. No, I said take Franklin. I told you guys, I didn't give you my Stats Don't Lie video on that fight, but TJ and I broke it down in a live stream, and I told you guys I don't like Dichko's amateur career and his pro career. Look at Dichko's resume versus Franklin's. Franklin had been in there with some legit former world champions. He fought AJ to a decision. Neither guy looked amazing. It wasn't the best fight, and I'm being diplomatic with that. Anyway, fight was okay. MJ disappointment. It's just MJ figured out real quick that look, I don't know why my mind goes back to the Andrew Walters fight versus Loma, or even the Rigondeaux fight. Look, I only watched Andrew Walters versus Loma and Rigondeaux versus Loma. Those are fights you only want to watch once. They were not, but those were fights where Loma psychologically, that's when he was in that Loma era where he was psychologically breaking his opponents and they were quitting on the stool. No one talks about that era Loma. That era Loma was a different Loma, where fools were quitting in between rounds, not even beaten up physically, but psychologically. This man was stealing their spirit. And when I was watching how MJ was fighting and how unwilling he was to be vulnerable in relation to how MJ usually fights, it kind of reminded me, that's where my mind went on what Inoue was doing last night to him. He was just beating him everywhere. MJ knew early on he couldn't find a path. He couldn't find an opening. He couldn't find a path to victory. They both knew it. It was a masterclass. It wasn't an atypical Inoue performance, though, because people are used to bloodshed. So I actually, you got Junto in the crowd right there. I felt like Inoue did that to make a statement. I felt like he had to remind people that he was capable of doing that, that he's not just a guy who's with devastating power. He could box. His timing, dude, his body punches, the way he works the body too. How often do you see guys work the body from the outside? You know what I'm saying? Like, Inoue's body punching, he's not a guy who uses the jab setup to get on the inside and then feints here, taps, and then rips the body. This is a dude who's from the outside on his toes, feinting, boom, and then stabbing the body and then getting out. And then Just there's you gotta really pay attention to the minutia of boxing to really appreciate everything Inoue does. There are things that he does that it just comes so natural to him, and he makes it look effortlessly when you're watching him. That if you've never boxed, it's really hard to appreciate what he's doing. It is really hard to feint from the outside to get your opponent to bite on those feints, and then you have the speed and timing down enough to where when you catch your opponent frozen for a split second, you then bounce in and stab him to the body. You put yourself in harm's way, and then you exit just in time not to get countered. Like, what are we doing here? This is insane stuff. This is like savant stuff. I would love to see Inoue live. That I want to see what he looks like live. I want to see that speed in person. I want to see those feints live. I want to see, like, he had MJ freezing. That guy, to see that he has, he had to remind everybody he has that ability to do that. And I think that was more, that game plan was like, yeah, I'm a student of the game. I'm not just a brawler. I could do this for 30 rounds. So that's my take on Inoue. You fell for the same narrative in the Spence fight, bigger, stronger. No, I didn't. Double O tricks. I took Bud in the Spence fight. What are you talking about? 008, this is where I got to call out lies. 008 Trick says, Johnny, you fell for the same narrative in the Spence fight, bigger and stronger, but skills pay the bills. No, I picked Bud in the Spence fight. I have all the receipts. I told you guys Crawford was going to stop Spence because of his. I thought Crawford, and Crawford didn't use his speed. I thought Crawford was going to, rely on his speed and his sort of like, what's the word? Finesse to beat EJ. I had him winning. I had him beating EJ. I didn't expect him to bully EJ. So don't try to rewrite history and say I picked EJ to beat Bud, because everybody on my channel who's been with me knows that's not true. I did a breakdown on that. MJ went to court to get this fight, talked so much trash. I didn't even have him winning 2 to 3 rounds. He's showing the Japan fighters they haven't got to go too far every fight after them 2 deaths on the same card as well. Maybe. Yeah, it was a gorgeous performance, Kiza. I do. I think Inoue fought a fight tailored to his opponent. Look at the result. A complete shutout. Masterful. Complete shutout. I couldn't find one round for MJ. Rambler. Flomo puts people to sleep. Plus, he would need to his bodyguard, Kenny Bayless, to unretire. Yeah. That's a funny take, but there's truth behind it, Rambler. DJ Green, I always said I had Franklin Ditchko, just big and slow. Yep. Have to believe me, we are magic. I love the word. Rambler, Tommy Fury would beat Flomo with his read. Okay, now, Rambler, now we are getting to the point where we've reached a division in the road. Heaven sent. Ditchko may retire. I think even Lawrence Okoli beats him. Yeah. Whoa, what are you shading Lawrence Okoli out here? You think he would beat him? I think Okoli would be favored in that fight. Jason Jr. Jersey Duval. Yeah, guys, Johnny, you seen how Tommy runs weirdly with his shoulders up and arms wide? Liam Paro versus Papo. Guys, there's an Australian card this week. Aussies are going to be eaten. Brock Jarvis is on the card. Liam Paro's on the card. If you guys aren't aware with, what's his name? Akuso. Paulo Akuso. Good fighter. Paulo Akuso's cut from the same cloth as Justice Hooney and Jaya Pataya. Jason, he looks silly as hell. Goods. I know, man. Sometimes we can't explain things, Goods. Sometimes we can't explain things. What leads us astray. S6. Great weekend with the boys. Great Discord. We got Johnny Cash. Massive. Appreciate you, man. I love to hear that. I love to hear it. I love to hear messages like that. Goods, that was the easiest 5K. Beautiful Goods. I love to hear that, man. I'm glad you guys hit. Crawford at plus money is crazy that oh, God. That one's going to stick with me for a while. Kiza, I thought. PJ wants them parlays bad. Relax, PJ. We're just kind of withering in our wins and sorrows. Aikido. Does Liam Paro stop him? We'll get to that in a second. Akuso and Jarvis getting decent odds for the 2-leg. Yeah. Paulo and Jarvis are eating. Put those on a money line. I don't know, you know. Off top, I know Akuso's on the card. Paro, Jarvis. Let's look at it. You guys asked for it. Let's do it real quick. It's too late. Okay, so we have, yeah, I'm not touching that fight. Okay. I'm telling you what, boys. Oh, Terrell Fearon in the house with the super chat. Mate. Brother. Let's see what Terrell, thank you, brother. He says, "Sub Johnny, I just wanted to show some love for the great breakdowns and incredible Discord." Give me a second. Sub Johnny, I just wanted to show some love for the incredible breakdowns in Discord. I made some good money this weekend that I would have lost without the guys. Looking forward Thursday, enjoying the Discord. Thanks, Terrell. And Terrell's message there in the super chat, which is amazing. Terrell highlights an important point about the Discord, that it took me a while to learn about what we're really doing, because I never heard of Discord before I started it for you guys, and I didn't know what we were doing with it. I was like, all right, why do boys want me to start a Discord? I mean, Boxing Fan was asking me to start one 3 months ago. TJ from Chilltown messaged me in last March. So I only started it 2 months ago because of you guys. And for the first month, I still didn't know what we were doing. I was like, what is this? What, you just want my picks? I'm not like, nobody knows 100% of the picks, man. Like, you know, I'm not doing anything that's special. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just like you. Like, we're all the same, right? And then after like a month or so of the Discord, I started realizing, I was like, oh shit, this is a community. I was like, we don't, Terrell just won on bets that I didn't pick, which is amazing, that he learned in the Discord from other guys who didn't agree with me. That is amazing. And that's what I'm talking about. The last thing, if I let's say I wake up tomorrow and we look at the Discord and it's 250 people agreeing with everything I say, I'll delete the Discord. You know what I'm saying? Like, then that's an echo chamber, and then we might as well just be in a cult. You know what I mean? I'll start sleeping with your girls. You know what I'm saying? What's every cult end up doing? The cult leader always starts with like spreading love or spreading a vision, and then fast forward 2 years, he's sleeping with everyone's wives. It's like that's what happens in an echo chamber. But yeah, that's what we're doing, man. So Terrell, thank you for the super chat. And thank you for highlighting it to me once again. That's what we're doing. It's a community. People are winning money, because guys, you get to share your parlays and you get to talk to the other dudes who are professional gamblers. I'm not going to put anybody on blast because anonymity is a thing, but there's at least 10 dudes I know in there from other conversations, texts, emails, that this is all they do. They win. They have careers. They travel the world gambling on boxing. So you guys have access to these sort of people. Okay, let's see. Some fights you just don't see coming. 2020, Latina. Heaven said, I can't wait for November. November has some great cards. The community wins. Yeah, for sure, man. Jason Jersey, yeah. We're all the same humans, so unpredictable. 100%. Boxing fan, nah, you're boxing. Nah, man. We're all students to the game, boys. We're all students. I learned, like, if we're not learning something every day, what are we doing, right? We're all students. That should be the mindset. That's my mindset every day in life. And I'm not even that, like, I don't even know how you would categorize my spirituality or belief system of, I just believe, I live my life on wanting to better myself every day. I need to upskill myself, whether I'm reading, whether I'm learning, whether I'm teaching, whether I'm helping somebody, whether I'm loving somebody. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I'm wired. And the community on the side of my boxing, how I fill my glass for the boxing, it's the same thing. Sleep. DJ Green. But you know what I'm talking about, DJ. That's what happens. That's what happens with cult leaders. They all have the same story. It's like they promise you something, everyone's hype, everyone's dancing, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, the documentary 5 years later, and dudes, there ain't no dudes in the cult anymore because they got kicked out. You know, old mate got like 7 wives. Dudes ain't eating no more. No one's happy. Y'all, they all end up starting like acting like they're musicians, and like all of a sudden they got like LPs and mixtapes. And it's like, what is? That's the outcome of an echo chamber. You need to do buy me a coffee link or something. How do I do that, Rambler? What is buy me a coffee link? I've never heard of that. If anyone knows what Rambler means, you need to buy. I'll buy you a coffee. I love coffee. Let me know. There's a lot of cults on Discord. I wouldn't recommend searching it. Guys, my only knowledge of what Discord is Johnny Says Boxing on Discord. That's all I know. I don't look at anything else. Glad you appreciate Johnny as I do. I do, man. I love this. What was you getting ready to say about Thursday card? Okay, the Thursday card PJ Puppet Show, my guy who's loyal to the channel, is the fact that it's a feeder card. The favorites are going to win except one fight. I'm glad you reminded me. There's a kid from Western Sydney. This is a true story. He's on the card. Right now, he's an underdog. I might put my money on him right now. All right. Yeah, so he's not an underdog. It's a close fight. So in 2020, 2021, I was working with Bondi Boxing Club. I talk about it all the time. I was managing Lynn Sandstrom, a female fighter. She just fought for a world title, got that ass beat. And I was working with Tony Del Vecchio, you know, doing like, I was managing Lynn, and then an investor of mine, you know, the guy who invested in my first documentary, we were this close from purchasing Bondi Boxing Club, based like angel, like investing in Bondi Boxing Club, because, you know, financially they were in a position where they were looking for sort of like silent investors. And so through that time, I'm hanging out at the gym all the time, you know, filming stuff. And Tony's like, "What?" This was 2021, so 5 years ago. He was like, "Watch this kid." He was like, "He's so young, he has to come in with his mom." He was like, so his mom, I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, I think he was like 15 or 16, maybe 17. He was like, his mom has to bring him, and he's really good. He's really good. And I was like, all right. So I kept an eye on him. He turned pro a little while ago. The dude is a dog now. His name is Darren Gara Trahala. So right now, Darren Gara Trahala is $1.68. He's fighting. I have to see who Lachlan O'Shea is. So I have to check out who Lachlan O'Shea is. But Lachlan O'Shea is the slight dog. But Darren Gara Trahala is the real deal. So I'm going to put my bet in Jacob Ng, the Flamingo. Guys, Google the Flamingo. He's a boxer from Queensland named Jacob Ng. Jacob Ng is the kid who fought Billy Dibb in Billy's last real fight, and he picked Billy up, and they kind of wrestled and tussled, and Billy fell and hurt his back, and the fight got called off, but Ng was winning that fight. So right now, on the parlay, I got, oh shit, Liam, dude, this is a good card, guys. I got, just on the money line, I got Paro. Let's do this real quick. This isn't official, but Liam, feeder. Liam Paro, feeder. Liam Wilson, feeder. Brock Jarvis. I have to do the tape. I got to see Ken Aitken. I think Ken Aitken's pretty decent. Paulo Acuso, Jacob Ng, and then Daringa Trahala. That's 378, but not official. We're going to make money in Australia like we always do. Rambler with the super chat, man. Thank you, brother. Rambler taking care of the channel like always with his feedback. What was you getting ready to say? You actually right. It feels like the day after Christmas. It does feel like. So, David, I don't know what part of the world you live in, David, but I guess in Canada and Australia. Obviously, I live in Australia now. I didn't learn this until I moved to Australia, because in Northeast Ohio, we got Christmas, and that's it. And it's born, and I grew up in the part of Northeast Ohio where, man, we were on welfare as a kid. All I remember Christmas where I come from, snowing, cold. I tell these stories when I go home to visit my mom because my mom, she didn't graduate college until I was 13. So up until I was 13, we were living in a 2-bedroom house, poor, 6 people in a 2-bedroom house. My mom, my dad, 4 kids. And then when I was 14, she had been working at a hospital as a nurse for a year, and then she moved us to a nice neighborhood and bought a house. So my little sister grew up in a life of like nice, but I grew up. Anyway, when I think of Christmas, I don't have a lot of good memories with Christmas, and I use humor to tell, as you could tell, like I've always used humor to kind of like navigate life. But in Australia and Canada, they call the day after Christmas Boxing Day, which is kind of fitting, all things considered. Do you get wherever you guys are in the world? Do you guys call the day after Christmas Boxing Day? Because I guess it was made for people taking back all the gifts or all like the clothes that don't fit or you have to return something. And then I think it's a national holiday in Australia because you get the day, something about the taxes and the stores stay open later. It's like a legit thing. People look forward to the day after Christmas. Because I remember growing up, the day after Christmas was like depressing where I come from. My mom would be like, it wasn't that. If Rosie was right here, my mom, she'd be like, it's not that bad. You exaggerate. I was like, shit, no, I don't, bitch. Was you exaggerating when there was nothing to eat when I was little? That's how me and my mom, that's our relationship. I talked to my mom yesterday. Beers, water, and soda till I die. Johnny says boxing. Porter and Magazine Vet here. Shooter McGavin, Vallejo, Porter, and Magazine Vet. They got Trahala as the B-side. They do. That's what I'm saying. Guys, do your homework on Trahala. Still young, not a finished product. They got Trahala as the B-side. I got to check out who he's fighting. So that's not in stone yet. It sounds like it's going to be a step up. Yeah, in the UK we do as well. Every day is Boxing Day in my house. Yes, sir, boxing fan. Jason Jr., Jersey Duval, we get to Christmas in no time. Christmas is coming, boys. Christmas is coming. Guys, we're an hour in. I'm going to cut this off because I'm working. It's I got a client downstairs in about 30 minutes. So I'm going live again today. In my second live, I'll do like a 5-minute recap, and then we could talk about what lies ahead. It was hard for me to focus on the UFC this week, so I apologize to you MMA fans. I gave you a half-hearted Dana White Contender Series parlay. I gave you a half-hearted UFC 3-legger. I told you guys I couldn't do a lot of film study because we had so many fights in boxing. I'm going to do, I have a lot more time this week to study the Dana White Contender Series fighters. So that happens on Wednesday. I'll give you that parlay tomorrow. And then in my second live,